Well, everyone, welcome to World at War Comics. Back again, Mr. Jeremy Adams, writer extraordinaire, Mr. Will Conrad, artist extraordinaire, on one title together. Can you believe it? We got Flash Gordon and these two gentlemen working together. I mean, what else, as a comic book fan, can you ask for than the writing of Jeremy and the art of Will, all on the same pages? Welcome, gentlemen. It's so good to have you here. I'm excited to talk about Flash Gordon. Anything else we want to cover?
Awesome. Yeah, no, we're pumped, man. It's funny. It's like they just told us they were dropping the first trade of Flash Gordon, I think.
Yes.
Just like yesterday or something. And that's crazy that we've already had that many issues. It's Flash Gordon. I think Will and I talked about this before, but like I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. I was just trying to do a serialized space adventure thing that was fun, that had little twists and turns. And thank goodness I have somebody like Will that can make sense of what I write and make it look fun.
It's definitely fun.
Yeah, and I'm very thankful to be here on the podcast again. And more than this, it's always a pleasure working with Jeremy. He knows that. Everybody knows that. I tell this to everybody. One of my favorite writers to work with. And I think, he makes it so easy. And I'm not just saying that, to, flatter or anything, but it's very easy to work with his script. Yeah. We are always talking, and he keeps getting himself in trouble, asking me what I want to draw.
Yeah, I know. Listen, without the art, it's nothing, right? It's just one of those things. Will, I know you know this. When you were growing up, it's like you're attracted to the art almost before the story.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a reason I have every Danger Girl issue. There's a level of I remember when my brother started getting the Jim Lee X-Men, and I was just like, oh, dude, it was like Silvestri and Jim Lee, and it was just so awesome looking. And then you kind of dip into the story. You hope it's good enough to make you excited about the visuals, because like if you don't have those moments in the script, for me, I'm saying this as for me, like if it's just people talking, I'm gonna be like, bleh. I need a good action sequence. I need a splash page. I need Zark coming in and destroying everybody.
Everybody
styles. That's what I need for my soul.
I think it's the same. Obviously, in my case, I'm an artist, and the first thing that caught my attention on comics since I was young, very young, it was the fact that we have not only a good story but especially great art. But I think that the importance of the script for me, obviously the story has to be good, but not only that, as an artist, for me, when I have a good script in hand, it fuels me, it makes me want to draw that page a lot. So I'm going to put a lot of passion on the pages because I like the story so much. If I get a story that I don't relate to, or I don't think that is great, sometimes the script can be very dull, and I have to, try to, like you said yourself, reinvent the wheel. I have to try to say, okay, what can I do to the story to make it great? And when you have a great script, you don't have to go, to think, how can I make this page great? Because you are reading a good script, and I say, oh my God, I can't wait to start drawing it. And that's what's happening with Flash Gordon.
So you're very kind. Is there somebody? I'm going to hijack this podcast. Is there somebody like do you have influences in comics growing up that you were like,
oh yes,
I love Frank Miller. I love,
I do. Yeah. Oh my God. Obviously Alex Raymond is one of them.
Yeah.
Bernie Wrightson. Yeah. Bernie Wrightson was incredible.
That's sick art, dude. That's so detailed.
Yeah. Mark Schultz. I think that his line work, his brushes are insane. Obviously, Frazetta. For me, the best, because remember, I started out as an inker. I worked as an inker for almost 4 years before I start. I mean, I was drawing, but not getting work as a penciler. But I was always, while developing my pencils, I was already working at inking.
Yeah.
And to me, one of the best teams ever is John Buscema and Alfredo Alcala. Yeah. There are some Conan pages that when I take it and I look at it, it's like, oh my Lord, this is insane. I mean, so good. And other guys like Rude Nibres, Tony DeZuniga. I mean, there's a lot of guys.
Let's talk about
Barry Smith. Barry Smith.
Why is it that like
just in terms of storytelling? Because for me it's different. Some guys are great illustrators, great artists, but they don't have that level of storytelling.
Sure.
So, for example, in terms of storytelling, Joe Kubert was great. Also Joe Buscema, some of those guys. Will Eisner was insane.
Yeah.
So. A lot of references, man.
So why is it that Central and South America have some of the best artists?
Yeah, it does. It's true. Brazil, especially. Brazil, Argentina.
Well, I'm not quite sure. Brazilians in general are very artistic.
Yeah.
But you're talking about Brazil, but for example, you go to the Philippines.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. The Philippines has some insane artists.
Yeah.
Really.
So I don't know. I think it's because of the style. I think Brazilians adapted a lot to the American comic style. So I think that's, and I'm not really sure. I am from the second generation of artists that got into the American market. So the first generation was, Mike Deodato, Marcelo Campos, Luke Ross, all of those guys. And they got to that style that is a little, not Deodato. Deodato got a style that is closer to Neil Adams. You get, for example, the guys, Ivan Reis, all of those guys, they are, Alan Davis style, something like that. Yeah. I think I am a mix of everything. Everything that I look, that I like, I try to learn visually, and I can't say. I think we have to do some. I don't know. I can't tell. All I know is I'm so happy because when I started working as an illustrator, not as a comic book artist, I never thought that I would be making a living doing comics here in Brazil, because we had no market here. Now we have a little more, it's growing, but back in the day, there was no way. And so when I got the chance to start doing some stuff for the US and Europe, I grabbed it and I said, oh man, I want to do this the rest of my life. So
you guys are supposed to have like the biggest con.
Yeah.
The best.
We do, but we do one of the biggest.
Yeah.
The CCXP in São Paulo.
Yeah.
It usually
get an invite there, Will. When I do, you're going to take me to barbecue or something.
Oh man, no, but it's not in my town. It's like 6 hours driving from my town.
Yeah.
But I'll make sure that they will invite you. And
come on, man, let's go. I'll get one of those bubuzuelas.
And we will. Yeah, I have some friends in São Paulo. We are going to have a great time. And if you have the time, you are going to come here in my town, spend a week or so. And I'm telling you, here in my town, my state, the Brazilian food is one of the best in the world, and the food here in my state is one of the best in Brazil. So you are
good.
going to get fat, man.
Anywhere when food is involved. If like good food is involved, I'm like, let's go.
Oh, I'll
make you a Brazilian superhero like tomorrow. If that gets that's what I always hope. Like they did Yara Flor as the new Wonder Woman, and I thought, or Wonder Girl. I don't know. She Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl. But like I hope they do more with her too, because like I said, I think Central and South America is such a huge market. There's so many fans. There's so many people interested.
Oh yes. Yeah.
As I said, Flash Gordon's great.
Yeah, Flash Gordon's amazing. Will, what's your thought about Grayscale? Have you done a lot of Grayscale?
I love Grayscale.
Yeah,
What's
You know,
Grayscale?
huh?
Look,
What is
let me.
that?
I'm going to show you. We were talking about the Philippines. Can I
Yeah.
just share? It's a friend of mine who has a comic book. I don't know if you heard it, Crescent City Monsters.
It sounds
I heard about it.
Yeah, his
I've never
name is
seen it, but I've heard.
Newton Lalavos. I'm going to share my screen. I want you to see this Grayscale because I think you'll appreciate. Both of you will appreciate it. But Will, I would love your
Okay.
thoughts on it. One of the best like indie artists that I've seen. So here it is right here. Look at that page right there.
Can you blow it
Oh,
up?
okay.
Yeah, let me see if I can. I don't know if I could click it. It's their website, so I don't know if I could click it.
Oh,
But
that looks
Let me
good.
get
he
my
has
old man
two
glasses
comic
on.
books. He has this one called Keisha
Oh.
Demon Eater, and it was all in grayscale. And then he does like the blood in like red splashes.
Oh, that's cool.
It's incredible.
That's nice.
Incredible. And then he has this other one. I'm just plugging him because I just love the art and I love the story.
That's what you do, man.
It's incredible, man. Whenever I see a comic book, especially an indie comic, that I just think this should be a lot bigger than it is. It is growing, but it's just phenomenal. Just the writing, the art is incredible. Look at that.
Yeah,
All
that's
takes
really
place
nice.
in New Orleans, but it's all
Yeah,
grayscale.
I love Grayscale. I mean,
Yeah.
especially depending on the mood of the story,
Yeah.
it builds up. And I actually, and not only Grayscale, I also like the black and white.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So I sometimes I wish that to see, you know, some of the stories that I did. For example, I would love to see those Flash Gordon, some of the pages, and especially the covers in black and white. So
Yeah. You know what we
I
should
would
do?
be very happy.
We should just do an issue where like the sky is polarized or something, and it has to be in black and white.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Well, you know what we could do? I mean, I have an idea here. I don't know if it's feasible, but what about we can not we you you are going to write that. I'm just the artist. I have nothing to do with it. We make like a story that is not like a story that we have. I mean, you know, the regular story, but it's like a story that is being seen through the eyes of a droid or something that only sees black and white.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's good too.
Huh?
But it's slotted in, man.
Slotted in.
I could use some, you know, some zipper tones, you know, just put some tones or stuff like that.
It's just part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be. Yes.
Or every time the droid speaks, it's all in black and white, and when someone else is speaking to the droid, it goes back to regular or something too.
Well,
you can flash back
every time.
We have so much stuff.
Or every time we are in the sequence that is being seen and narrated by the droid, we see it in black and white.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe an idea.
I got a great place to slot that in, man.
Oh wow! See, I told you he is.
This is the greatest podcast ever, man. This is awesome.
I am always wanting to do stuff like, you know, I love telling stories. I love coming up with stories, but I love the collaborative process of coming up with stories. Like I come from television and animation, and we sit in a room and we kind of come up with stories. That's fun, you know. I had a pitch the other day, and I was getting ready to pitch it to DC, and I was telling my friend about it, and he goes, "You know how you should change that?" And he's like, he gave me this little golden nugget, and I was like, "Dude, I'm gonna steal that." And he's like, "Absolutely," you know. And I was like, "Great," because sometimes you just don't see it, you know. And that's when you have a really good editor, that's what they do, you know. A lot of times, if you have a really good editor, and they're like, "Hey, you could push this, or maybe think about this, or what about this?" That becomes, you can see that the result becomes a little more exciting for everybody, you know. But it's just like this. It's just him saying like, "Oh man, I'd love to do something like that. It would be cool if it was from the POV of a robot." I'm like, done. Because in my head, that's half a comic that I don't have to worry about.
I was going to ask, how often do you have to replace the glass and the Red Bull?
Yeah, well, you know, quite a bit. I stack up. I was at DC offices the other day, and I think people were worried about me. I drink. That's my only vice is energy.
Yeah, I see you drinking them during podcasts sometimes.
Yeah, Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's true. I know. I'm literally looking to my right, like I need to get something to drink right now. But like, to give you an example, we did a cover, right? It was a cover with the broken mask of Flash or something.
Mm.
And it was
The
at the
broke.
I don't
convention.
know.
They said, "Can you work that into the story?" And I was like, "Heck, yes, I can." Like, like I'll do
Yeah.
that
Oh, no,
today.
yeah, no, he had a spacesuit.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
and I actually was working on that cover
yeah,
while in New York.
yes.
Uh, so
Yeah, I
I
said
told
like,
you about,
yeah.
yeah,
And you
and
said, I
it's,
think you said like, what if it's cracking? I'm like, that's all I need.
yes,
Like,
I put the
let's
crack on it.
yeah, let's put it in. And I'm all about that. That's fun for me. That's
Oh,
fun.
no, no. Actually, what happened was I did the layout without the crack
Right.
on the visor, and I didn't think that was. I mean, it was a very nice because he
It
has
wasn't
a
dramatic enough, right?
exactly, and then I thought, hey, I could put a crack because he's in space. I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
put a crack in the visor, and that changes completely
Yeah.
the cover. What
Yeah.
do you
And
think about that? And you said,
yeah.
yes, do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And it's 100% takes me down a path that I wasn't thinking about.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, a lot of times when I start pitching a story like or something in like this, like Flash Gordon, I they said Mike Martz said to me like, "Yeah, you want to do Flash Guard?" I'm like, "Heck yes, I would." And the next day, I'm like, "Here's what the 15 issues would be," and I literally set like an outline the next day. And even just recently, our editor sent it back to me like, "Hey, what about this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I forgot about that," because it starts to divert from the outline a little
Uh,
bit, and also just in terms of like maybe I put a sentence of, and in this issue, this happens. Well,
yeah.
that's not 22 pages. I
Yeah.
got to figure out how to hit that mark because I just did it off the top of my head, and that can be a problem sometimes. So,
Does that happen a lot, Jeremy, where you do have kind of a script, but you kind of get enthralled? Maybe it's a 10 issue script that you've already written, you're on issue 5. Do you often kind of veer off in a completely different direction because maybe another thought came and you just scrap the rest of it? Or do
yeah.
you try to stick to it once you write it?
I so generally the way I work when I'm writing is I know this is going to sound stupid or weird. Is like I oftentimes will just like push play in my head, and I'm just
Mm.
like watching the movie as it takes place in my head, and I do similar to what Will says with his art. It's like
Yeah.
I'm writing it, and then I go, well, that's super boring. Like how can I make that a little more exciting, or how can I make that exciting? I'll give you on Green Lantern for DC. I had this big plan that's happening in space, and but I was on Earth, and I'm writing this story on Earth, and I'm really conscious of the pacing of it,
Mm.
and I'm also like not wanting to rush it, but at the same time realizing I should rush it a little bit. Like there's a tension there, especially when an event comes in or whatever, and I'm trying to figure out when's the right time to pull the trigger on going to space. When's the
Mm.
right time to execute some of these other pieces? And sometimes I just feel like it's weird with monthly comics because you don't want to go too fast, but you also don't want to go too slow that people
Yeah.
get bored with it.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's the part that I'm still learning. Aquaman, I have a big mystery happening, but I'm also like, I said the other day to my editor, I'm like, so should I finish this piece here or should I keep going? And he's like, I don't know what you're doing. So, but I'm trying to figure it out. I try to figure it out with Flash Gordon. It's like I knew it was going to be Flash's escaping planet Death,
Yeah.
and then he's fighting for his life, and then it was like, well, I think originally I had like let's spend 5 issues of him escaping planet Death, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, we get it, like we got to Ming, and now it's like, oh, let's get this ship and let's do Ming's mercenaries and some of those other things. I think
Yeah.
I pushed that a little faster, and to
Mm.
get to Zarkov and get to some of
Yeah.
that stuff a little faster. And even now, I'm still like, oh gosh, we got a lot of characters to show up, and
Yeah.
we need to roll toward
Oh, yes.
a bigger story quicker. I don't know. I'm trying to get back into just being weird. Like in that first issue when I was writing the thing about that one robot coming in, and his fingers were on
Yeah.
hinges or whatever, and
Yeah.
Will did that so expertly, and that's more the vibe I want to do. Like, hey, this is
Yeah.
wacky sci-fi stuff,
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, and I would think as you're giving the script to Will, your creation from that script, I wonder if that also changes, Jeremy. You're like, oh man, when he drew that, now so I think it's issue 2 or 3 where they're escaping, and there's that one animal,
Yeah.
that
Yes.
Flash ends up,
Yeah.
writing and
Yeah.
to try and escape. Like, I wonder, when I'm reading it, and I know you're the artist, Will, I'm wondering if that was supposed to be just one page and they escape the animal, and then you're like, dude, that animal looks so dope. Maybe I should do like an extra page where they're doing something more with it. Like, I wonder how often that happens. Maybe not in an instance, but how often that happens in the collaboration between you two.
Well, I sometimes I think that when I draw something in the first issues, and I think Jeremy sometimes said, "Oh, that thing it's very cool. What about we use that in
Yeah.
future issues?" That happens a lot. Actually, that monster specifically that Flash Gordon rides, I would suggest that Jerry brings him back exactly the same monster.
Yeah.
So like
Almost like
Flash
a
is going
puppy
to
dog
be
you can't get rid of now, right?
no. Can you imagine? Look. He, for example, I'm not going to give up what's going to happen, but
Yeah.
can you imagine he's in a situation now away from that planet,
Yeah.
and he's about to be ripped apart by that same monster, and the monster like sniffs him and recognizes him.
Yeah. I love that. This is the thing too, when you said the thing about and I hope Will knows this. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty clear about it. It's like he wants to do something else. If he wants to draw another page of something else or rearrange it, I'm totally okay with that, because I said this before. I cannot dress myself. I am not going to sit there and tell the artist, no.
Yeah.
This needs to be like this. Screw me, man. Like, if I can't draw it, I can shut up.
No. What I always try to do, and Jeremy knows it, is obviously some. I mean, I try to follow the script, every script, as best as I can. But sometimes, when you are writing, sometimes you don't visualize the scene or a situation the way that the artists do, and sometimes I see a scene or a panel or a page, and I say, okay, what if I change this a little bit? Not the story, but the storytelling.
Yeah.
But I always let them know, okay, look, I'm going to take I'm going to put another panel here. I'm going to take out this panel. What about we take this panel from this page and put it on the next page or something like that? But I am always faithful to the story. I never.
Because listen, the artist is so much of the director of these things, and again, it's a weird thing. It's like we both have our names on this thing that will live in eternity in paper,
Yeah.
and
Oh yes,
and
I agree.
like I've had, I've been very lucky though. I've worked with some just really wonderful people, and I have friends of mine that worked as writers, and they've told me like horror stories with artists.
Yeah.
I've never had that, but probably because I also trust them because they're artists. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I 100% trust that like Will's gonna go, I think this is the best way to do that, Because the other thing is, as a writer, sometimes you go, I had a friend of mine, he had given me his like first comic script, and I was like, yeah, you have like 5 actions in one panel, and that artist will either kill you or B, explain to you you're going to have to split some of that up, because
Yeah.
maybe you can't do it, or you're not thinking about if it's a camera. The one that always gets me is like, if somebody's like a monster's coming at you, and the camera's here behind Flash, it's like well, it's really weird if Flash's face is turned this way,
Yeah.
like say something, and also sees that. So you have to kind of like think about those. But we're also human. Sometimes you go,
Yeah.
oh, that's why I honestly, even as a writer, it's like if I get to 6 panels, I get really nervous. I get nervous that, like Will's gonna get up, somebody's gonna get upset. I like save those 8 panels, and most of the time I do that because if there is that many panels on a page, it's usually to preserve a reveal or reveal something. But
yeah, something big, right?
Yeah,
to me, the amount of panel on the page is not so problematic. The problem is when you have a lot of panels, like 8 panels,
yeah.
and you have to show several actions, especially if it's no small actions, and you have to put dialogue.
Right,
Yeah.
right. The dialogue will
Then
kill,
is a problem.
The dialogue will kill everything.
Yeah.
And
then it's a problem.
I'm really aware of that too, because as writers, we can be self-absorbed about our writing. And I always remember the story in Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back that Harrison Ford had that big monologue, and he just cut it out, and he said, "I know," and I'm like, "Yeah, less is more." And
Yeah.
And you've read one of those. I've read some comics.
Oh yes.
Recently, where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a.
I have worked on some comics like that,
and I'm just like, oh, and then what sucks is you have an artist that draws these beautiful things, and it's like boom, 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 and you're like, oh, that's brutal, man. Will, would you say that 5 or 6 panels? I mean, I know you said the panel, but that's generally around what a page should hold, right?
Yes. 4 to 6 panels. It's
And
usually what it takes.
Those old comics, like I'll go to the Claremont Byrne X-Men, and I'll be like 10 panels in here, and it's just like dialogue like crazy, and it looks so like now,
Yeah, some of the early Spawn, where they'll have like the flashbacks of the TV news, and there's like 9 news agencies, and it's just all dialogue. You're like, man, it took me a half hour to read that page.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes. I mean that. I think you are talking about the horror stories of some people working.
Sure.
But that happens with artists too. I already worked with some, because I think that the best thing here is when you have a good collaboration and respect for each other. As I said, if I have to change something in terms of storytelling, I always communicate and we talk, and we are very easy. But sometimes, for example, I work with writers that they don't like you to touch anything. Anything. I mean, you can't take up any panel or anything, and you say, but it's not going to work. I don't care. All the script. So it's kind of tough, but because as you said, this is a collaboration.
I'll never do that.
You also put the artist in a bad position too, where they're outstanding, but because you force that on them, all of a sudden there's a couple panels that just don't look right from a reader's perspective, and we're like, man, what the hell was the artist thinking on this? Not even knowing that pressure came from maybe a writer too, right?
Yes,
that's interesting.
Because
I never even think of that.
The way I see it is, I'm not just an artist. I am a storyteller too.
100%.
And to me, to be a comic book artist, that's the key, because you have some great artists. You see their art is fabulous, but they are not good storytellers.
Right.
And on the other hand, you have some guys that their art is quite simple, or not that simple art is not good, but you see that. So I don't like the art so much, but the storytelling is amazing. So I think you gotta have this balance. And when you can't do something and that you are being paid to do, which is help telling a story. So it's tough. It's tough, and that's when I said that when you get a good script that I want to draw that, it's the opposite, because I hate the script. I want to get, I want to finish this stuff because I don't want to do it anymore. So and it reflects on the art.
All right, Will,
That's the way
tell
I
us the
see it.
writers. Tell us the writers you don't want to work with anymore.
No.
All we have to
When
do
I
is
come to Brazil. When I come to Brazil, you'll tell me.
I can tell you in person.
Yeah.
All the pages with stick figures, the last 2 pages, we know who the writers are, right?
That guy's doing a great, he's making money, man. He's doing good.
Doing great, man. Doing great. I love it, man. I think that collaboration, I know you and I have talked about this before, Jeremy, but that collaboration between an artist and a writer is so crucial from the reader's perspective, because not only do you feel the tension between that lack of collaboration if it happens between the writer and artist, but as a reader, we could tell. We know when the artist and the writer are not on the same page. You're like, I'm reading this, but the artist telling me something a little bit different. I'm not sure they talked about this page.
Sometimes that's like, editorial put an artist and writer together, and maybe there wasn't a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Because I also think that I've had to say to people it's not that person is bad. It's just I don't see my story in that way at all.
Yeah.
And I know some people that are like unbelievable artists where I remember, I won't say anything, but I remember that unbelievable artist paired with somebody, and I was like, this art looks terrible.
Yeah.
And then it's like the same artist, different story,
different
thing, and it looks unbelievable. And it really does look the same. It's just the fact they tried to force that art style on a story that probably
the art style doesn't match. And it happens. Yeah, and it happens on every level. The same way that an artist doesn't match. Sometimes it doesn't match to the style of the story.
Right.
Sometimes I had that problem before. For years now, more than a decade now, I ink my own stuff. It's not that I don't like other inkers, but because I was an inker myself, and because I have a particular line style, I had a lot of trouble with other people inking my stuff. Not that they are not good, it's just that the style doesn't match. As you said, sometimes you see that inker working on another artist, and it's amazing. And he start working on another artist, and it's horrible. But again, it's not that the guy is not good; it's the style doesn't match, and that happens with colors too. We know.
Yeah. That's something that I'm kind of learning more and more. Every process. I'm always amazed at the line art that people do, and then you see the inking, and you're like, "Holy crap, that's really great!" Like Fernando always uses Eau Claire, and they really do complement each other. And then you'll have color come in, and it drastically changes things.
Yes,
people's legs disappear, as we were saying. But it can be. It's like, oh look, this is a bright palette, and it's totally changed the vibe of this thing. Or no, it's dark and muted, and it totally changes the vibe of things. And that's interesting. It's something that I should probably think more about. But I also personally, as a writer, I rely on the artist a great deal to call those shots, because I feel like it's really his thing that's being either diminished or enhanced by those things. Will, is it mostly you get to pick your inkers? Is that true? I mean,
no,
right?
No. Yeah, it depends. Some editors, they are already, for example, so I got situations when I got into a project and they already had a team assembled. So they already had the colorist, and they even had the inker. I got to a point now that most of the time the editors, they ask me what I think. So, you want to ink your stuff? Oh, what do you think about this inker or this inker? And what about this colorist? So sometimes that happens. Most of the time that happens to me. But sometimes we have to work with, the team that we have assembled. What I do is, whenever they send me the color samples, I try to be respectful, because I don't want to burn anybody. I don't want to. I know that everybody needs to work, but if I almost always I leave the colorist alone. I don't interfere, because the same way you let me handle the panels and
Right.
and the storytelling, I let them give their vision on the color
Yeah.
palette. I only intervene when it changes too much or it's too detrimental to the story, and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see a scene that should have some kind of color or a color palette, and it's completely changed. And then I go inside. So look, I don't think this is working with the art
Yeah.
and with the story. I think this is taking away from the story. So
Well,
sometimes they listen, sometimes not. So
right. I mean, I'm grateful because I feel like Matt Cave has been incredible in terms of like even when we first starting this and I mentioned you mentioned me like it was like oh mutually and that happens a lot. The really good editorial stuff's like hey do you want to here's some artists and I'm going here's some artists that's generally what I'm doing like I want to work with these people I don't you tend to start finding your crew that you would like to do stuff with because you can trust them that it's not
oh
going to
yes, yes.
such a
And
huge part of it.
to me specifically, this is personal to me. Uh, I I am very lazy on the sense that I don't wanna I'm not so eager to work with people I don't know.
Yeah.
For example, we are working together, and I always love working with you. Every time somebody put a work in front of me and say, "Okay, you can draw this and this and this. This guy is writing this guy is writing this, and Jeremy is writing this." I'm not going to choose.
Yeah.
So I work with Jeremy. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
So if I when we find and it happens with colorists. I mean, if
Yeah.
I know if I've seen there, okay, this guy colored my stuff and it was great.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with that guy. I'm always going to, So okay,
Yeah.
can I choose? I want that guy.
Yeah. I did the same thing with me. It's also to the degree that like if somebody tells me, hey, I worked with this artist and it was really hard and it was tough because they were mean or whatever. And if I hear that, I'm like, I don't even want to risk
Yeah.
it. Like
It's
I
not
don't
worth
want
the
to
drama, right? Yeah, I don't
I
need
don't
drama.
have time.
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah.
time. I'm
Yeah.
writing 4 books a month. I don't have time. I don't have time. Like I
There's
got
not enough Red Bull in Southern
yeah.
California for you to be able to put up with that.
You realize. I mean, it's funny in the creative arts, especially collaborative arts. That's all the way up. It's from comic books to TV to movies. You'll see those people working with the same people. Like notoriously, Spielberg has the exact same crew that he's had for ages because he's like, why
Yes.
would I get anybody else? I can make
Yes.
like everybody knows. We all talk to each other. We all trust each other, and we can just bust through something in a heartbeat. And
Yeah, I think you bypass a very problematic part of the process, which is getting acquainted to
yeah,
another people and learning how they think and learning the process, how the symbiosis is going to work. That is very sometimes very frustrating.
right.
And when you already have that team that have that, it's already fine tuned. Why are you going to change? Jeb, I think you can tell me, but I think that when you see your story, that you envision your story in a way in your mind, and you get a bad artist, and you see the art. I can only imagine how frustrating that must be to you
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
when the art doesn't correspond to what you were expecting on
yeah,
the story.
yeah. It's hard, and luckily I haven't had it happen all that much. But you know, I, like I've had a few of those moments where you're like, hey, this is going to be cool, and then you get it and you go, this person was obviously wanting to do something else. You know, like they have the talent or whatever, but they obviously this wasn't a priority for them. And it sucks because you're like, oh man, and like I get it, life is life, but you also expect a certain level of professionalism. The sucky thing is, and this happens in writing and television too. That means I'm not going to work with that person again.
Yes.
And I
Thing.
remember being in a room once, and I was sitting there, and this producer came in, and he had a script, and he looked at us, it looked at me, and it was my boss that he was specifically, and he drops the script down, and he goes, "We can never hire that person again," and like turned around, and it was like it was so astounding, and it wasn't because of personality. It was like, I don't like this person's writing, and I don't want to deal with it, and I was like, holy crap! It's that instant. Suddenly, you are now blackballed from a major studio that quick.
Wow.
And so I
Yes.
think about that all the time because it's hard, I'm a people pleaser by nature, and I want people above me, and I want people I work with to feel seen and heard, and that everybody's doing well. But also, as a writer and somebody who's an artist as well and a storyteller, is I'm not a yes man 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Like there are
Yes.
times to just kind of roll your shoulders back and go, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to do that thing you want me to do. Or I'm going to do this thing. I'm maybe not tell them I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And just run out the clock as much as I can. Like I definitely do that sometimes because I'm
Yeah.
that I can get away with it and you'll forget, like that was the whole first arc of the Flash. I was like, I'm going to retcon Heroes of Crisis. Maybe they'll stop me, maybe they won't, and like, I was betting they wouldn't, and at first they did, and then I just kept going. So
Yeah. It's like was it Rob Life or Robert Kirkman when he shared his story to Image, and he said there was going to be aliens in his what's that one real popular that's a TV series,
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, yeah. And when he did you hear that story? He went to yeah, he went to Image and pitched his story, and it was zombies. Like, we're not really interested in zombies. Like, there's already a lot of zombies. He goes, no, no, this one's different because then aliens show up, and they're like, wow, I like that. We haven't seen that before. And so he starts writing it. They're like on issue 4, issue 5, and they come to him. They're like, where's the aliens? He goes, oh, I forgot to tell you, there's no aliens. But at that time, the comic had already taken off, and they're like, well, I guess we got a zombie book, and obviously it did okay, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I heard of
it. That's hilarious, man. That's pretty ballsy, though, Jeremy. I have to admit.
Well, I mean, listen, it's not supposed to be a mean thing, but
yeah,
there's so many writers that sometimes you're saddled with people. It doesn't, not necessarily in comics, but in other things where you're saddled with people that don't actually want to be there.
Yeah,
like you're saddled with people that actually they just want to justify their job, and they'll just say an opinion, and you're like, do you even care? Like you're just randomly saying something, and that's hard because I'll give you real quick. I was working on these Mortal Kombat movies. I did like 4 of them, and Joel McHale, who does the voice of Johnny Cage, it's so different because he came in, and it's not I just did this I read it. It's like he was there to play and collaborate, and it made me want to write more, and it made me want to write more for him because I knew that he was interested in what we were doing, and that made all the difference. If I have an artist that we're working together and they're interested and they're excited, I 100% want to do more with them, and I want to make sure they're happy, and I want them to be. I want to do whatever they want to do. Same with editors. I love it when an editor's really excited, and I'm so needy. I need that feedback. I need great job, not and it's like if I get the I'm like, well, I'm dead. I'm never doing comics again. Like,
and it's such a small world, such a small universe. Everybody knows everybody. I sometimes I get contacts from editors that I worked with at Marvel that are not working in Marvel anymore for a long time, and so everybody knows everybody. And if you screw up with one person, everybody's going to know.
Yeah. If your deadlines are so like I mean, for a writer, it's like if I'm missing all my deadlines, they wouldn't give me more books.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting there talking smack like I do, I'm like, I can write 10 books. Like I go crazy, and I'm like, just give them to me. I better back it up.
Yeah.
Turn in,
Yes.
Did your wife ever go, you could do more?
She actually knows. She
Oh,
actually knows
yeah.
capacity. Like
Oh,
I've been,
interesting. Yeah.
I've been running a Lego show for the past couple of years while doing 4 issues a month, and
That's crazy.
I still feel like I have a large capacity, and sometimes I think, wow, look at me, look at the large capacity I have, and then I became friends with Mark Guggenheim,
Yeah.
and that guy,
He writes.
everybody, he's not only doing all of that, he's also putting out his little Substack
Yeah.
newsletter. He's got like, and I'm just like, oh, so I just suck, but there's a difference. There's a difference
Yeah.
between people that you know do and
Yeah.
people that say they're going to do. And I know people that are far better writers than I am, but they don't finish anything,
Mm.
and that's a terrible lesson to learn. But
And so they are not better writer than you.
that's right. Yeah, I mean they're like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this paragraph that you wrote is amazing. When are you going to get to the rest of it?
Yeah. So
Yeah, it is a novel, you told me, though. So I love the paragraph, but it's a novel, and we got a paragraph, right?
All right, okay, get fired up. I know we're coming up on an hour, so hit me.
Yeah, no. I think one of the things that we want to talk about, obviously, is the trade is coming out, which is really important. It kind of went fast. I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel like I just picked up the free comic book day, and I remember I reached out to you going, holy crap, man. And then all of a sudden we have a trade out, right? And so it drops, I think, January 29th, right? It's available. Yep. So you can get it right now. I'm going to put the lunar code below. That way, make it very easy for everybody to grab it. But yeah, man, this is awesome. We have the diamond code, we have the lunar code, and we're ready to go, man. Ready to go. And even you have Dan doing a cover, I think, for the trade too, which, yeah, that's pretty cool.
I love that it does feel weirdly quick to me.
It does.
Well,
if you wrote 15 issues to start off with, you're probably like, well, I'm not even halfway through.
But there's something I only feel now that I'm starting to really understand who Flash is. I know that sounds weird, but I think there's a lot of stuff we're doing with flashbacks and things that like they never explored in the novels or the comic strips, which is really fun to be able to kind of go, yeah, he's wrangling a horse, or whatever. It's like, or even Ming's origin story.
Yeah.
I was like, there's got to be Ming's origin story. It's like, oh no, over 70 years, no. It's like,
nothing.
That's weird.
You gave us a lot of really good story as a little bit of a background too, which is helpful too, because there really isn't. It's kind of an unknown character, right? And an unknown villain.
What I'll tell you though, one of my favorite things is like I'll write this stuff and I'll send it over to Will, and inevitably the note is, this is too violent or something, or this is like too sexy. And by the way, it's not, but it's like they're too like, that's a fun. I feel bad for Will because he's got to fix it, but yeah.
I love it,
but
man.
you learn to read what they want and what they don't want. So I already know, okay, I can't go too far with this.
No belly
because they are going to complain. No, man. Don't even mention it.
You better not watch that old movie. That old movie.
I can't put, for example, and also I can't kill all the adults.
Yeah.
But don't do anything to animals and children. So
yeah.
Wait till they get to our black and white episode where Zarkov kills everybody.
Oh, that's good because we don't. It's good because we don't have to put the red from the blood. So
right.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Winner.
That's hilarious. Jeremy, you have talked about this crazy, weird idea that you've had for a creator-owned.
Yeah.
In the past, has anybody bit at it yet? Just out of curiosity,
no.
Or have you even really been focusing with everything else that's going on? Probably.
I haven't focused as much, but every time I pitch a creator, people are like, "That's stupid," like I get the and I'm not trying to be this is how I feel. I like movies like American Ninja. You
Yeah.
know, I like kind of corny crap movies. I love those, and that's definitely where my taste is maybe pointed. And so what's interesting to me is that most of the time when I do creator own, or like I pitch creator own to people, they're much more interested in kind of like more high class ideas, you know. So
Interesting.
at the end of the day, it'll end up probably being a Kickstarter of some sort,
Mhm.
and being like, well, if you want to take part in this insanity or whatever this is, then
We should talk about it, my friend.
Yeah,
no,
I know this artist, Jeremy, that I think you would work really well with.
well, I mean, listen, I have all these screenplays that I would go around town trying to pitch, and people would be like, well, this is weird, and they would never bite on it. And now I feel like those stories have new life, because
Yeah.
I'm excited about comic books. I'm excited about people have responded really wonderfully, and I do recognize that I have an opportunity to kind of capitalize on some of that stuff. So,
Yeah, we should really talk about it.
yeah, absolutely, my friend.
Absolutely. I think a Kickstarter would be an amazing way to do it too.
It is, except I'm both doubtful anybody will contribute, and I'm also scared that like thousands of people will contribute, and then I'm like,
yeah,
all right, kids, everybody lick an envelope,
yeah. No, just go to Zoop. They do everything for you. They do all the fulfillment, everything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, it would be perfect, man. I'll fly out to SoCal and I'll box boxes for.
You're kind. You're kind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be amazing.
By that time, I'll move to Texas. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, you got an artist like Will on an indie with your writing, with your background on Flash, Green Lantern, Flash Gordon, Aquaman. Come on, man.
There's something I will definitely talk.
People would bite all over that, Jeremy. All over that, man. All over that. Well, I hope it comes to fruition. I know we've hit an hour, so I want to be super respectful. I know you're writing a lot, and Will, you're drawing a lot, so I want to be really respectful of your time. I am always in awe being able to talk to both of you. I love your writing, Jeremy. I love your art, Will. I tell you what, once in a while, I'll give a little love note to Will on Instagram. Like, dude, you just blow my mind, man. But I really appreciate it, both of you. I appreciate your writing. You allow me to escape reality so often in these amazing stories and art. And I know I'm not the only one. I have a lot of podcast friends, and we talk so much about your storytelling, Jeremy, and your art, Will. So you guys are cream of the crop, and I cannot wait to see more. And I can't wait to hear what's coming up next for both of you as well. And I hope you're doing it together.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, me too, my friend. Me too.
All right, guys. Well, I got to take my kids to karate now. So
yeah, go to karate. And it was great being with both of you again. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you again, man. See you guys.
Yeah,
later.
absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Talk soon. Thank you, everybody.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.